Okay, and we are back. Sorry about that. I let the ads running a little longer than anticipated, but we are here now with the actual game one between Eddie and Spring for the Empire Collective Cup Gold League. Now, game one originally was restarted. Eddie called for a restart before. Now, of course, he has got his restart, and we're here once again. And I will actually close the bets this time. Bet close, not bet stop. And for those of you watching on YouTube, yeah, I had betting going in the chat. I accidentally closed it, and well, I stopped it instead of closing it, which meant everyone had their florins refunded. But we'll look at the favourite to win in a minute. But first, we'll introduce the players, because down to the south of the map in the red, we've got Eddie, and he's playing as the Mongols. And up to the north of the map in the blue, we've got Spring. He is playing as the Mongols as well. Now, I did say this, what I'm about to say, I did already say for those on the stream. But for the benefit of those watching on YouTube, I'll say it again, just briefly this time. Currently, Eddie is in second place in the Gold League scoreboard. This is his final game of the Empire Collective Cup. And being in second place means that if he wins this game, the best place he can finish is actually second. The person above him, Zuppy, has 25 points. Eddie has 20. You get 3 points for winning a set, so he can't possibly catch up to Zuppy right now. But if he wins this set, there's a very good chance he will finish in second position overall. If he draws this set, then there's a very good chance he will finish in third or fourth place behind Kongens or Mentalist, or both. And Spring, on the other hand, is currently in ninth position in the scoreboard, or on the scoreboard, sorry, he's in ninth position, and he will bump up a few places if he wins, but he is out of the running for a podium finish this time around. So there we go, said that briefly, and now I'm going to check the chat to see what the, or who the favourite to win is, see who has the most florins bet on them, and it seems like the favourites, the most common prediction is the 3-1 win for Eddie in this set of games. So the chat thinks that Eddie's going to win this 3-1. That is the most common or the most popular voting option for this set of games. And I mean, it's understandable why Eddie's the favourite to win. He is in second position, whereas Spring is currently in ninth. And Eddie off to an interesting start here, trying to steal a few sheep from Spring. He's got his scout just buzzing around Spring's TC, and he might be tempted to steal a boar or lame this villager or something like that. There you go, he's going to attack her now, and obviously Spring's done loom, so he's fine, and Spring bringing his scout back into his own base here is going to make sure that he can protect that boar, and make sure that Eddie doesn't do any dodgy stuff and try and steal it. Eddie trying to get off to a bit of a lame start here, but it seems like that's not going to happen, and he is instead just going to do a standard kind of fast feudal here. Since they're playing as the Mongols, obviously hunt bonus and all that, going to be gathering from the boar super fast, and Eddie I think going to be up to the feudal age first here actually, since he is actually finishing his second boar, by the time Spring is only just bringing in his first. Eddie also not doing loom means he's technically one villager ahead. In fact, he's actually two villagers ahead right now at this present moment, and Eddie here off to a really blazing fast start. Now, it's interesting, actually, because Eddie, as you guys know, is an arena player. He is, well, much more of an arena player than Spring, at any rate. And for that reason, we kind of expect Eddie to play more defensively, to be a bit more turtley, maybe play a little bit more sort of passive, but he's actually pretty aggressive. And when you see Eddie playing random map that isn't arena, he is actually pretty aggressive, and you can see that with his civilization pick. Obviously the Mongols here looking for a 20 population, just a 19 villager feudal time, and clicking up really quickly. Gonna be obviously going for that scout rush, and his map really doesn't look too bad either. He's got a nice back gold here, a nice back wood, and if he makes some strategical housing and strategical walls, he could basically make a nice safe haven for his villagers back here by using the TC as a choke point. Spring, on the other hand, he's not up to the feudal age yet. He's 21 population. Looks like he's going to be going up on 22, which is the standard villager count for any other civ, I guess, doing a scout rush on this map. And I guess maybe he's thinking that Eddie won't be looking for a super fast feudal time, but, you know, he's coming in with his scout now. He's going to get blasted by that TC, and he's looking to see what's going on. Obviously not going to have much luck, but you will see the barracks going up, so He knows that Edie is probably on the way up to the Fudal Age already, and actually quite a while ago, because he's actually finishing that barracks, or he was very close to finishing that barracks when Spring saw it, which basically says to Spring, alright, Eddie's already up to Fudal quite a way ago, and there you go in the chat. Fudal Age for Edie, confirmed it. Fudal Age confirmed. Spring walling up, and this time it's Spring making the walls, and I think that's kind of funny because if you guys remember back to Spring versus Winchester, a set of games which was quite hilarious really, all Spring did was complain about Winchester's walls. That was it. He did nothing but complain about that, so it was kind of funny. Elvin was disappointed in me because I said he was going to get blasted by the TC, and only 3 arrows hit him. Yeah, because, you know, taking 3 arrows, no sweat, no problem whatsoever. I regularly have 3 arrows fired at me, and I just walk away unscathed. It's fine. Just, you know, 'tis but a flesh wound. So Eddie right now with his scouts coming out, and he's going to be getting aggressive. The question is, will Spring have walled up in time? Maybe he's actually, you know, learnt or accepted the way of the wall. Maybe he's embraced the inner wall inside of him, and he's going for it. I guess really, you know, in a tournament situation, there's no reason not to wall if you can, because it does save your ass more often than not. Walling is very important a lot of the time. Now, I don't know, Spring's scouting information, it's about the same, to be honest with you, but he could have done with a bit more scouting info of his own base, perhaps, because he's, I don't know, making maybe an inefficient wall here. Pardon me. He doesn't know about this cliff face going along this way. He could have walled here and here. Granted, that's a very long way from his base, but still. At the end of the day, the important thing is that he is walling. The question is, does he have a hole? Because you guys know, as well as I know, we all know that there's always a hole. And Eddie is locked on. He's homing in. He's like a homing pigeon. Will he make it? Oh, no, he won't. It's not like Spring tried to hurry the building of that wall. He was taking his sweet time about that, perfectly calculated. Well, maybe not, but you know, Eddie coming in at the last second and Spring just closing that gap. And this time around, there is no hole for now, but I'm sure Eddie will be making a hole sooner rather than later. If there's a will, there's a way. Eddie's gonna find one. He will make one if he has to. Edie, that's a new one. I didn't know where the H came from in that situation. And Spring gonna let a few of his scouts out. He's gonna get a counter attack on, and why not? The thing is here now, Eddie can come in on the left side and maybe focus on this weakened palisade. 192 HP, and you know, Spring's going to have to send a villager all the way over there. He is going to have to react pretty quickly here. This wall on this side, if I could click on the damn thing, 106 HP, but a quick house behind it. It's going to keep Eddie out for the time being as Spring pushes out on the counter attack. Now, both these guys, since they did a really early feudal and made scouts, they're not going to be up to the castle age anytime soon. But it looks like Eddie preparing for that, really, with a lot of farms going up, and the same for Spring back here. Nice little bit of micro from Spring down here as well, moving his weakened scout, moving the scouts being targeted by the spearmen away, and he's going to get a villager kill and dart out of the way of this. Whoa, okay, maybe not. I was going to say he's going to dart out the way of the scout, but no, he stays in. He gets another spear kill, and now he moves out of the way because, well, there's no need to fight that. There's no need to fight 5 versus 4 when you're already weakened by the TC fire and the spearman, but he got a villager kill, and that means that Eddie is now only 2 villagers ahead. Yeah, that's right, Eddie, 2 whole villagers ahead of Spring at this point. Eddie had a really good Dark Age, and he obviously took that through into the feudal age with him as well, since he is still 2 villagers ahead. But actually, the reason for that, you know, at first glance, you think, how is he 2 villagers ahead? Well, I'll tell you how, because Spring did an earlier wheelbarrow. Now, wheelbarrow basically takes the same amount of time as 3 villagers to create. So you could either create 3 villagers, or you could do wheelbarrow. And since Spring did wheelbarrow first, he got 3 villagers ahead, and now Eddie will do wheelbarrow. Spring will actually take the lead in villager count, and now Spring is 1 villager ahead, which does make sense considering he killed that villager back here earlier on. Spring now 2 archery ranges, but not before he goes up to the castle age here. He has got his blacksmith down, he has got 2 archery ranges on the way up, and he's going to make that classic switch into the double archery range and crossbow production. Once he reaches the castle age, Edie just fractions of a second behind, but he is building a stable. So difference in build order here. Both players starting out very similar, both of them doing a fast feudal into scouts, but very quickly changing because Eddie's adding in a stable, and we see Spring making three archery ranges back here. So the third archery range on the way up for Spring now, but he has lost all of his scouts, which means Eddie has map control, and he can actually kind of, he can poke and prod, he can see what's going on, he can annoy Spring by attacking his walls, there you go, and sounding that, sounding that attack alarm. Spring in the chat saying, I sure didn't expect I'd be the bastard waller. Yeah, you nailed it, Spring, because I was thinking the exact same thing. Eddie's asking, where's the old Spring gone? I mean, it's a good question, because I'd never thought we'd see Spring walling like this. Eddie, though, nearly getting through, and now continuing to attack his walls just to send that attack notification through to Spring and annoy him. But yeah, Spring is, I don't know, not necessarily behind right now, actually. I mean, they're both pretty close, as it were. Yeah, actually, yeah, Spring's slightly faster to the castle age as well, which is nice, I guess. He's one villager ahead, he's slightly faster to castle, and he's got those archers coming out very soon. Not before another TC. I mean, he's got all these walls. Why not take advantage of them? But oh, Spring! Oh, Spring! That's interesting. Okay, so I was gonna say, like, he should be making archers at this point. As I said, those archers coming out, but he didn't actually have any archers coming out. I just assumed that he would go archers into crossbow. But what Spring is actually doing is he's like, nah, man. No, this is not the Mongol war that I wanted. This is the Hun war. Because the Huns are banned in Game 1, Spring is going to pretend that he's the Huns, and he's going to go for cavalry archers, which is something you don't really see, to be honest with you. Obviously, the Mongols, it is viable for the Mongols to make cavalry archers, because their cavalry archers do fire faster. They do have, Mangadai, one of the best unique units in the game, is essentially a cavalry archer. But Spring here, cavalry archers coming out, probably unexpected. For Eddie here. Eddie, meanwhile, I mean, he's going knights and camels, which is actually a pretty good combination. Obviously, if Spring makes knights, then camels there to counter that. And if Spring makes crossbows, well, knights with bloodlines +1 defense, soon to be +2, I imagine, will certainly help Eddie out. He's also gone for a forward siege workshop, and this is what I'm talking about. Eddie here, pretty damn aggressive player when he wants to be. He might be known as the arena player. Oh, Eddie the arena player, just gonna sit behind his walls and boom up. But no, forward siege workshop ready to go. And I think that's the kind of thing with the arena. You kind of imagine it being this wall and boom map, but it's not, is it? Think about all the top arena games. You see all of those, like, early Castle Age pushes, full-on mangonels and monks. That's the kind of thing you see from arena players, and Eddie doing just that with his mangonel coming out. Now, obviously, Spring here, counter-attack once again, maybe, or he will tackle this kind of aggression coming in here on the left side, and I don't know, I feel like he's going to have to react to this in some way, because Eddie, with a bunch of knights, a few camels, and he's going to break through this wall as well with this mangonel, immediately going to come into the firing line of this mangonel, and his whole army is away from home right now. Thankfully for Spring, he does have his TCs up, so he can protect those villagers, but at what cost? That is the question. At what cost? You might lose quite a lot of villager gathering time here, and certainly going to have a lot of idols while they're gathered inside of the TC. But on the south of the map, he's going in, and is there a hole? Yes, there is, between the barracks and the palisade wall. Who would have thought it? Who would have seen it? I didn't see it. Sir, I certainly guessed that Eddie didn't see it either. Not that it really matters, there was still a hole in the wood line, but still. Spring getting in here, killing so many villagers, abusing that faster cavalry archer firing speed that those Mongols have, and playing as the Huns would in this situation. Spring, of course, is very much an Arabia Huns player, and he is playing just like you would expect for an Arabia Huns player. Almost losing his TC here, though, and Eddie has got the monks out. Eddie and his monks. What is he like? He's so almost predictable in a sense. But Eddie here going to protect these mangonels. Almost, actually. I thought he was going to be able to protect both of them. But Spring getting that last pot shot in, but not before the mangonel goes and fires back at the TC, and Spring now needs to repair it, and he was going to try and do just that, wasting a lot of time, of course, but still wreaking absolute havoc inside of Eddie's economy. There's arrows raining down from the sky, and Eddie right now is losing a lot of villagers. He's down to 44 vills, while Spring is sat high and mighty on 61. And he's actually defended from this aggression for the time being as well. And sure, he's wasted a lot of villager time, he's had to repair his TC and all that crap, but Eddie's been forced to respond, defend, and that is the kind of thing that, you know, he didn't want to have to do. He wanted to get aggressive, and he wanted to be the one locking Spring inside of those walls. Eddie having a pretty tough time back here, and Spring microing those cavalry archers, killing the camels, and he's going to try and make a hasty escape, but I don't actually think he has husbandry, so maybe not as hasty as we first thought. But still, Eddie right now taking down these houses at the back, looking for another route of entry. Spring, meanwhile, is just like, nah, I'm going to repair that, you're not getting in, and Eddie just going to have to kind of sit tight, I guess, and maybe try again another day. The thing is here, like, Spring's actually in a very good position right now. He's really hurt Eddie's eco while simultaneously protecting his own economy, booming it on 3 TCs. Eddie's still only on the 2. The 3rd is just coming up, but it's way late in comparison. And at this point, Spring nearly has double the villagers, and I think it's going to start paying off very soon. It's going to start really swinging in his favor as this huge economy back here starts going into overtime, I guess. Now, Spring adding another stable. He's actually doing a light cavalry at the moment. I love that. He knows, of course, that Eddie is making a few monks. He doesn't know how many Eddie has. The reality of the matter is that he actually only has the 1. But if Spring makes too many knights here, he could find himself getting caught out and getting a lot of conversions on him. So he's going to go for light cavalry, and it's a perfectly fine choice because the Mongols, of course, have the best light cavalry in the Castle Age, simply because they have the extra HP and they get all of the Castle Age blacksmith upgrades. Now, you could argue that the Mongol Hussar is weaker than others, although it has more HP, they do lack the final defense upgrade, but in the Castle Age, they have the best light cavalry in the game, arguably, and I think there's no argument about it. I'm pretty sure they do have the best in the game. So for that reason, Spring right here, investing in them nice and early, and they're going to come into play later on as well. So all these extra farms for those light cavs, and he can go start raiding with them as well here, which is going to be pretty awesome. At the moment, guys, I can't see the chat. I do like to look over to the chat occasionally, but my laptop's lost internet connection somehow, and I'm going to try and reconnect and see what you guys are talking about in the chat as well. But yeah, basically Spring's eco is huge right now, and it looks like he's, you know, pretty content to sit in the Castle Age and take this fight to Eddie very soon with all these light cabs coming out. He's been housed quite a lot, actually, I can't help but noticing. He has been housed a lot this game, but I'm kind of hoping that, you know, maybe he will sort that out, and could be pretty bad for Eddie pretty soon. I'm just trying to sort my laptop out here. Sorry, guys. Pretty sure it's broken. Come on, don't be crap. Fix yourself. I really need a second monitor, but you know, I've just kind of been making do with this laptop for a while, and yeah, it works. It does what it does until it doesn't work anymore, and then I now suddenly think I need a second monitor again. Anyway, Eddie here, you might notice, has been collecting the relics up, but Spring coming in right now, and those monks are going to have a bad time. They are not going to do too much damage right here. Sure, 1 conversion is going to pop off, but that's not enough. Spring going to be all over this as he runs in. But Eddie, camels, of course, already been making some camels this game. Going to overdrive, more camels coming out, and he is going to be able to counter this, potentially. However, the cavalry archers are pretty damn good against camels if microed well, and that's exactly what Spring will try and do here. He's going to try and attack in multiple locations. He's also going to take these monks down before they manage to pull off too many conversions, and that is going to be costly for Eddie right here. So yeah, I mean, this position, Spring taking a lot of map control, actually throwing down a 5th TC on this right side, getting ballsy, and going to be raiding with these cavalry archers quite a bit more as well in just a moment. Obviously, Eddie's hot on his heels here, but Spring's looking good all of a sudden. He's got a huge score lead, and playing this one very, very unexpectedly. He is really playing very Very different to what we would imagine. That's pretty nuts, if you ask me. So, Edie, yeah, on the back foot, trying to defend from these cavalry archers. He's going to have a bad time of it. I mean, these villagers right here could be chewed up and spat back out again if Spring were to notice them, but instead he's running to the back. He's going to kill a bunch of villas back here. Once again, it is raining arrows into Eddie's economy, and there's not a lot he can do about it right now. His army is basically non-existent. He's got 14 military versus Spring's 35. A bunch of it's idle. It's all over the place. And Spring's doing a lot of eco damage back here. That is for sure. Just when I thought Eddie's economy was going to start getting, rolling again. Suddenly Spring's in and doing a lot of damage. Edie on 4 TCs, by the way. And a lot of idols. A lot of idols all over the place. Spring, meanwhile, back at home. 5 TCs. He's just, pottering along nicely. Loads of vills, loads of farms. 3 stables. He's on 3 archery ranges. It's nothing but cavalry archers and light cavalry from here. And Spring knows, he senses he's got this edge now. He knows that Edie is feeling the heat, and Edie won't be able to keep up with production of military. So he is just going to pile on the pressure. He's going to keep Eddie's economy idle, and eventually, even if Eddie's making camels, eventually Spring in sheer numbers will overwhelm him and take the win. This is looking really, really shady or dodgy for Edie right now as the forward siege workshop gets dropped down. Spring going to be able to start throwing the mangonels out at Eddie's TC here on the right side. Meanwhile, continuing to raid on the left, and Edie must have so much idle time right now. We're looking at, look at that, 3 hours and 28 minutes of idle time for Edie. Spring is on just 48 minutes of idle time right here. Not only that, but Spring still has a much larger military. Military, yes, and also economy, with 131 villagers working overtime for Spring right now. I'm going to turn the sound down slightly. I can't. Okay, it seems really loud to me. I'm not sure if you guys think the same. But GG from Edie here. He's like, damn GG. Expected. At this point, expected, because, I mean, Spring had so much map control. Edie was unable to really get out of his town center and send those villagers to work. He was being raided all over the place. Spring really committed to that Castle Age aggression, and it was awesome. You don't see that kind of thing very often at all, and Spring just owned that. That was fantastic play by him. Edie, you could see what he was trying to do there. He was trying to pressure those walls. He was trying to throw that attack down early in the Castle Age, hoping that Spring wouldn't be making a large military and just focusing on eco. But Spring had those cavalry archers. He had a couple of knights, and then once he defended from Edie and sent that counter attack out, that was it. Edie just didn't have the eco back at home to keep up with Spring's production, and he couldn't hold them off. He had no walls to fall back on, no protection from Spring's raiding, and of course it ended up being Spring's game. So there you have it, 1-0 to Spring. Gonna rustle some jimmies, whatever that saying is. It's rustle some jimmies, right? As Spring gets game number 1. Alright, so I'm going to try and fix the laptop in the meantime. Not sure what's going on. Problem with the wireless adapter or access point. A network cable was not properly